Welcome to Claydar Live, where you get real weather, no hype right now. I'm Clay Graves, not even remotely AMS certified. I'm just a regular guy who's into weather, and we do this for fun. Got a couple things we're going to look at tonight. We're going to look back some. We're going to look at the current state of things. We're going to look forward a little bit. One of the really neat things that we've got going on right now, Mr. Bailey pointed out earlier this evening, is some lake effect snow making it all the way into Kentucky. I've had some really interesting discussions with folks before who are very well educated but don't realize a lot about how the weather works and don't understand that lake effect snow can happen in Kentucky. So if you look up there, Lake Erie on the right side of the screen, Lake Michigan on the left, both have some feeders, and they're precipitating some snow out over the state. You can see the high wind speed in those wind lines, and even some upsloping. You don't have any snow over central Ohio, but as it gets down into Kentucky and gets into some higher elevation, the atmosphere has some forcing there, and it's actually wringing out some snow. So pretty neat little thing just to check out right off the hop, and we'll leave that little animation run behind us, just so we can have something there while we're talking. One of the things that several people were interested in hearing was what happened last night, right? As an amateur meteorologist, getting skunked is not completely uncommon, but last night really got a lot of folks into a bad situation with their forecast, including the National Weather Service, all three offices that serve our area, and a lot of the TV meteorologists. We all saw things that really caught our eye and forgot two key things that we really always need to remember with Arctic air. I've seen it happen time and again, and I'm absolutely responsible for it. I think a lot of the folks that I talked to on Twitter were in the same boat. And that is that Arctic air is very, very heavy. It's dense. It sinks to the surface, but because it's cold and dense, it moves slowly. So that's the first and most important thing that happened yesterday, was that the Arctic air wasn't in place when the maximum moisture was over Kentucky. And you saw that with lower totals across the board. You know, we said in the last live that the NAM was probably way too juicy, and several of the models were pretty close, but it was still a little bit drier of a system on the whole than I think what a lot of people expected. And not only did that cause the general precipitation that fell to be lower, but it actually shrunk the system a little bit. That can be a good thing that Arctic air is heavy and slow, and it can be a bad thing. Usually when we get a northwest scenario, a southwest to northeast scenario, you end up with warm air advection that's really trying to shove that Arctic air out of place, and sometimes that can be a good thing that the Arctic air is heavy. It if you like snow, it stays longer, it's deeper than expected. Sometimes that can be a really bad thing. Arctic air is heavy, so sinks down to the ground and kind of oozes, right? So some of our overrunning events where we get freezing rain, that's why, is you have this real, deep Arctic air mass off to our northwest, and the models don't really pick up on necessarily that ground level Arctic air oozing out in front, and you end up with rain over cold air, which gives us freezing rain. The second issue that was slightly less better understood by myself at the time, but we actually saw a tweet from Wilmington at one point, was there was a lot of dry air at the mid-levels that was kind of unexpected. I think there was a little more assumption that there would be a saturated column in the atmosphere with as much warm air as came north. We saw areas that had a snowpack go over like 45 degrees yesterday. So, when you see that, you're assuming warm air just screaming to the north. It's doing that the whole stack, and that wasn't the case. Mid-level of the atmosphere was fairly dry. Radar showed a really nice donut hole well into the evening. So that not so much didn't affect people along 64, but certainly the northern counties cut that edge down to the southeast a little bit. And, we got skunked. It wasn't our storm up here in Maysville. I think for the most part, the forecast actually worked out pretty well. There was a small streak back near Paducah. which is a little bit southwest of where I would have placed it climatologically speaking. But the big heavy band that's set up along I-64 east of Lexington, we nailed, and there were some hot spots in there that went over 4 inches. So, locally, hyper local forecast when you're talking one county or one city are more likely to bust than anything, because getting that geography down to that last 10 miles is very difficult. But on the whole, regionally, I think the forecast worked out pretty good. There was a decent snow for a large part of the state. It impacted a lot of people this morning. Morehead State closed. There were a lot of schools closed. Even Mason County's schools closed, even though, we just had a trace. It was unmeasurable. You could see that it had snowed, but you couldn't get a measurement on it in Maysville. But the southeastern part of the county got more snow. Lewis County had a level 2 snow emergency. So, I think that there was like a jackknife semi somewhere on I-64. So for the most part, I think that forecast was pretty sound, especially considering, everybody got skunked. And I do have a beef with the Weather Service in Wilmington dating back to a tornado that wasn't surveyed at one point. But I got to give them props. They saw the model data. They saw what people were worried about. They changed their tune. They issued the winter weather advisory, and then they got skunked along with all of us. And they handled it graciously. They asked for snow reports this morning. They're going back to see what went wrong with the forecast, just like we're doing. And they really handled it well, and props to them. I think the two Kentucky offices handled it as best they could. Basically, the only person that I really wasn't impressed with out of that whole thing was that guy in Louisville that likes to hate on everybody else. And he has some buddies that were just stirring the pot, and that was kind of gross, kind of unprofessional, a little bit sad. But I can't tell him anything because he's got me blocked on Twitter because I've told him before. So that's our looking back piece. We've done our looking current piece here. You can see the lake effect snow showers coming across the state. Little to no accumulation. It's just neat to see, that moisture feed coming down. And now for what everybody's here for, right? We're going to go look ahead. And this is interesting. I've never done this before. Obviously, the lives are new to me. But usually when I look at the models, I'm trying to string things together, trend to trend, a run from yesterday to a run today. I have not looked at these models since 10 o'clock last night. I may have taken a peek at like the Canadian at noon today or something, maybe the Euro. But it was a day after a storm, and I was like, okay, we're just done with it for a day. Go to work, get your work done. Peak maybe at lunch, but I haven't seen any of the 18 Zulu runs, none of the evening runs. And I'm interested to hop on here and just go take a look and see what I see. And I'm going to make some comments. None of this is a forecast. Don't take it as such. But we're just going to go over there and I'm going to run you through what it looks like in my mind from day zero on a storm. When I first start to see something that looks interesting, or when something catches my eye, and then we evolve it out from there, right? So Adam's hyped. He's like, shut up and go get to the GFS, because he's been pinging me and telling me that I'm going to be ready to talk for a while. So without further ado, we're going to hop over and take a look at the 500 millibar GFS. I'm going to zoom in here for you just a little bit so we can get a better view. Now, something that's been showing up on the 500 millibar for several days, actually, is a just huge low going and sitting spinning over the southwest. And, I don't really like to see that, because you've got a high pressure area. Let me see if I pop the telestrator up real quick. You've got a high pressure area over here that's got this beautiful ridge, and this ridge up into the Gulf of Alaska is really what's been giving us these shots, right? As you have ridging in one area over the continental U.S., you usually have a subsidence or troughing in general over another area of the country. And when we get really excited is when we start to see, energy in the northern piece and energy in the southern piece. And if those can come together, there's a teleconnection there. If those can come together and swing through the Mississippi Valley nearly vertical, and that trough starts to go negatively tilted over the southeast, we get excited, because that means there's a low somewhere down here trying to make a run, and that's pretty cool. Why I don't like seeing a big low sitting over here over the desert southwest is that you've got a high, right? And then you have maybe a big low that pops over here and just sits and spins. Well, those are the opposites. There's a high pressure zone and a low pressure zone, and they can annihilate each other. That low can actually start eating away at that ridge. And what we're saying here is ridge in the west, trough in the east, is the opposite's true. So if you get a significant trough to develop off the coast, over here somewhere, it's going to develop a ridge in the east, and ridges don't really do us a lot of good over here. Most of the storms like to follow along where the jet stream is. So this is a recipe for one of these Great Lakes runners that cuts up and just puts us in the warm sector, and it's gross. So for winter lovers in our part of the country, we want to see that big ridge off the west coast, way up into the Gulf of Alaska, to stay there. So as storms come around the ridge, they can bring Arctic air with them, and you can pop a storm down here and have it follow a decent storm track for our part of the world. So that was something that I had seen on a couple models previous. We're going to start stepping through here and see really how things evolve over the next few days. So right away, we're seeing lots of energy on the board, and there's that low dropping off in the southwest. I don't like that for the longer term. The longer that low sits and spins out there, the more likely we are to lose quite the pattern that we have. That's not to say that it won't come back. There's some polar plots you can look at that show as this kind of falls apart. There's trough after trough after trough after trough stacked up way back around to like China. So, any of those could come back and lock in mid-February. Traditionally, middle of February is our best snow time anyway around here. So all the stuff we've gotten up to now is I'm not going to say unheard of, but doesn't really ruin our chances later in the season, right? Into January, into the middle of February is usually our best time for snow. Now, if we get that big trough out west and we get a ridge over here, it's going to push that one way or the other. What you really don't want is to have that ridge in the west for the spring, and just so we can touch on it real quick here, the concern there is if you get a ridge out here and you have a low that decides to ride along it, the low will usually have a warm front with a trailing cold front, and that's when you get into some really severe weather scenarios, especially as the air mass changes. There's a lot of cold air behind it and a lot of warm air in front of it. That's setting us up for a severe weather season that after the tornadoes in December, I really don't think anybody wants to see around here. So Boogeyman back here in the southwest, I don't like it. If it sits there too long, it's problematic. In the eastern half of the country, in the short term, we're sitting here 0 Zulu Saturday. So 7:00 Friday night, right? And there's quite a bit of energy dumping through. There's a little bit of troughing there. The orientation's not quite right. That looks like maybe something more transitional it's passing through. Could be interesting. We'll come back to the preset map there, and we'll stick a pin Saturday morning, Friday night, Saturday morning time frame. So as we continue to roll forward, all right, I'm seeing something here, and this had popped up in questions before when I discuss aliasing. Aliasing is, if you ever play video games, you've heard of anti-aliasing, right? And anti-aliasing makes jagged edges that don't render properly smooth, and aliasing would be the opposite of that. And it's more scientific. We get into Nyquist theorem and talk about what aliasing actually is. But suffice it to say, whenever you see a model start to have these little diamonds, would call them mock diamonds. That's not what they are. They kind of look like a mock diamond in a like a rocket thrust or something. But when you see these little discrete quantized parcels of energy on a model, that's something to say the model doesn't really have a handle on what it's seeing. We know that weather's analog, right? There is a continuous, a continually varying level of pressure between high pressure and low pressure. There are continually varying wind speeds between high and low wind speeds. even if you have a sudden event like a wind gust, it's going to have a ramp up time and a ramp down time. So to see something on a model quantized the way that these little diamonds are here tells me it really doesn't know what it wants to do with that energy out in the southwest. Right now, it's feeding a little bit of that off into this big trough. Do I see enough energy over in that trough right now to really be excited about? Not really. It does have the right orientation where if a storm had come through, it'd be mostly vertical and your storm would be riding kind of in this motion. That's neat for Kentucky, but not overly excited about that just yet. So we keep rolling it through, and interestingly here, you see a little piece of embedded energy come around the back corner of this. So pop the telestrator on, show you what I'm talking about. Watch this energy right in here. Gets a little bit excited coming around that corner. That could have maybe a system coming out of the northwest and dropping in through central Kentucky. That would be Clipper-ish. So that's, Sunday afternoon. So now we're looking Friday night and Sunday afternoon. Should probably have a notepad document up for these because I'm going to say something stupid and you're all going to hammer me for it. Okay, now this is interesting. So in the previous models, this piece of energy in the southwest didn't eject until it had eliminated the ridge in the west. Now we're seeing it get picked up a lot sooner. I don't know that it opens up quite that quickly. I mean, there's a lot of vortice here. There's a lot of contained swirl in the air there for it to just disappear in terms of the trough. Usually when energy ejects like that, it's going to keep that southern trough open and open wide. So something more like this than just this little notch that you see in here. And I will tell you right now that that's worth keeping an eye on, because even now with as narrow as that trough is, there's a lot of energy there. And it's already, so the Mississippi River's over here, right? And that's for Kentucky, particularly central Kentucky and eastern Kentucky, you want your trough to be vertical at the Mississippi River. So as that trough swings through, that southern piece of energy comes through, it'll have a low on it. And as it comes through, it pushes that low to the southeast. And when it goes vertical, the low is being pushed to the east, and then it goes negative, and that low starts being pushed off to the northeast. So what I'm seeing here is you've got a lot of energy in the southern stream. There's a little bit of energy in the northern stream. I'd like to see more on the hookup there. But this energy has a trough that's real close to the Mississippi River that's starting to go negative. So maybe there's, a low here, and this low would probably ride something like this. And then as that trough continued to come more negatively tilted, these lines would start to stand up, and you would see potentially a low move that way. So that is out to midnight between Monday and Tuesday time frame. We see evolve it on. You can kind of see that general idea here. It starts to go a little bit more negative, but it's also flattening out. There's so much energy down there. I'd be really surprised if that didn't remain a trough and stay pretty deep. And now we're out to hour 120. There's a few people in chat right now. How far out do y'all want to go on the GFS? I usually don't like to go more than a day or two past what the NAM is looking at, because it gets crazy beyond a week or so. Anybody in that chat group have a preference, or do we want to go down to the next level down and see if we've got temperatures playing along? Hearing none, I'm going to cut it off about hour 120. So we've looked at the upper levels. There's a couple interesting things there. Adam says he wants to go see further out. So today is Thursday. I'll give you till next Thursday, Adam. We'll step out until Thursday. I think I believe in the model 7 days out. We see more energy in the south. It's actually got a pretty good connection. That's interesting. You start to see the teleconnection on that. Actually, there's a line of vortice in the back there, right here. And that's an interesting signal. That means that there's some pretty strong forcing going on, and there's a lot of twisting of the winds right in that area. That has the potential to break out precipitation over a long area. It's not necessarily a big southern low that you would expect out of that, more of a frontal type situation, but a powerful, definitely a powerful front, or at least a powerful area behind a front. And that takes us into Thursday. So we're going to go down to the temperature map. Our target areas are Friday night, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And clear the telestrator out real quick. And keep in mind, this is one model. So for all of the models, I do this exact same process. And I do it pretty quickly. I'm explaining a little bit as we go. But it's the same idea, and every single model is independent. So if the GFS says, hey, I see something on a Tuesday, and the NAM is like, I don't see it until a Thursday, I don't necessarily consider those the same storms until those two models begin to converge and they both have them on the same day. So my probabilities don't really stack across models. I'm more interested in model consistency, run-to-run consistency on a given model. And I will focus on your long-term models that run out like 200-300 hours. You're talking GFS, the GEM, and then maybe GEFS, the Euro, but this winter, take it or leave it. And then when I get into the NAM range or the RDPS range, I actually start to use those pretty reliably. I will occasionally go back and try to confirm something with the GFS, but I don't hang on to a long-range model in the mid-range, and I don't hang on to a mid-range model in the short range. That actually bit us yesterday. I think the NAM caught on to the situation last night the earliest, and if I had confirmed with the NAM or actually followed the NAM a little bit longer, I might have been onto it a little bit sooner. So probably in the future, I'm actually going to adjust my wrap down and my HRR time down to maybe 24 hours, 18 hours kind of time frame, and not trust those quite so far out. Adam says loaded pattern. Absolutely. And honestly, we need to get them in while we can, because there's a trough coming into the West Coast there, and that's a pattern changer. I don't know. It's very likely that we get another trough in there or another ridge out there at some point before winter's over. But seeing such a huge indication of a closed low storm system in the southern track out there with a huge northern storm, that's concerning, because that could really change our pattern for the winter, and you could go from something really enjoyable and tracking lots of snowstorms to nasty weather, lots of rain, and potentially severe weather real quick. So something we gotta look out for. Although I will say that Southwest solution being kicked out sooner is encouraging in that area. So we'll pop down and look at our temperature map real quick. Again, we're looking for late Friday night into Saturday morning. There's a little bit of sea level pressure going on here. Actually, we've got cold air in place, but that freezing line's awful far south. I'm kind of concerned that if anything were to try and pop in the south Friday, it's probably going to be off the coast or up the coast. And I think some of the meteorologists up in the northeast, there's a guy, I can't think of his name, Adam might be able to post at Berg. He's been on this storm for a while, so probably Friday, Saturday, not the most interesting thing in the world. One of the things that is kind of interesting that I'm seeing on this temperature map, actually, if you look in central Canada, it really looks like cold air is recharging up there. You got a warm run coming up here, this massive low that's spinning up here, but you start to see these little tongues develop. this might be a discharge of Arctic air. And when you have a fresh discharge of Arctic air, there's two really good chances to get a storm on it. That's the leading edge of that, and then the trailing edge as it gets forced out. Usually, if you have a storm that forms on that southern edge of the Arctic air and just kind of moves west to east, it's not that great around here, unless you're later in the spring. Now, don't hold me to that, but if you get a west to east mover late spring, you can get that gradient set up across Kentucky, and that can be interesting. But this time of year, you're looking leading edge or trailing edge of Arctic air. So our next interesting point was Sunday into Monday, and I'm already seeing more signs here. There's maybe was this 1026, 1028. So this is a high actually, bringing some warm air to our north. But there's again that tongue of Arctic air coming out, and maybe some areas of interest in here. I do see a little bit of a hitch in the freezing line down here, so maybe you've got a storm in that area. What did we say? Sunday time frame. We take it out a little bit further. Sunday, not a lot there. I think we said Tuesday and Thursday were the other two that we're interested in. Now this is interesting. You can see the Arctic air that was in place from the weekend is getting lifted out quickly. Monday during the day, getting into Tuesday. And we've got a 10-10 low down here over Louisiana. Looks like there's another matching low up here. That's that teleconnection we were talking about. So the question is 1034. That's a moderately strong Arctic high. If we start getting to like 1040, that's a really strong Arctic high. 1034. If we can get this to get in here just a little bit quicker, this could be interesting. Tuesday time frame. And then we're going to get out toward Thursday. Okay, so it's interesting the comment I made earlier. I think you're all going to appreciate this. We said leading edge of Arctic air and trailing edge of Arctic air, right? So we're going to back it up to Tuesday. And what do we have on Tuesday? Somebody in this comment thread, tell me what we have on Tuesday. If we look, I'm going to pop Telestrator up again. If we look on our map, this is the leading edge of Arctic air. That's one of the places that we look for a storm to form. And it's going to pop and it's going to follow that boundary all the way up. All right. Now, timing is crucial on those because this high, we don't want it to do what it happened last time, right? Last night. We don't want that Arctic air to show up 3 hours late and cut our snow totals in half. That would suck. But here's something else that's interesting. This is how I see the weather, right? I have these little rules that I follow. So we get to Thursday time frame. Adam's on it, leading edge. Thursday time frame. What do we see? That's the trailing edge of that Arctic air. We'll draw this freezing line in here again, just so you can see it as a white line. The Arctic air. The core of this Arctic air is starting to lift out. If we can get something to ride this boundary, you have another opportunity. So the last step, we've done the upper air, we've done the temperatures, we've seen the pattern across the country. We're going to go down and look at, in this case, sea level pressure and precipitation. I'm not ready to show you all P-type map yet. Just not yet. We're going to go see if there's moisture available for these. So back to the start. Friday night. What do we see? Yeah, there's your big storm blowing up and going up the coast. Maybe even out to sea, honestly. I don't know if that gets to New York. We'll watch it. Yeah, see, that's a fish storm. That's going out to sea. So we come in on Sunday. Okay, there is a little something in that upper stream that's coming down on Sunday. That doesn't look exactly like a clipper. So for those of you that aren't 100% aware, clippers are ships. They're fast-moving ships that they used to sail the oceans with. In our phrase, a clipper is a quickly moving system out of the north. And I'm just going to draw a blank screen over here so we can see. A clipper is going to have a low that's rapidly moving let's just use this one. It's going to have a low that's rapidly moving this direction, and it's going to have a band of precipitation along and north of the track. And if you're a city that's here and you get to move all the way through that band of precipitation, you could actually get a pretty good thump. I was actually, one of the girls' games that I attended in high school, I did a lot of pep band stuff. So this basketball game that I attended, went in, it was like a 3 or 4 hour basketball game, and came out, there was 6 inches of snow in Maysville. So that was interesting. Looks like we're having some stream problems. We'll see what happens if that clears itself up here in just a second. So maybe something swings through on Sunday. I don't know that that's heavy, but we'll see what happens with that swinging through. Now Tuesday, this is back on our leading edge of the Arctic air, and again, there it is, big system, probably moving to the northeast. Probably want to see the 540 line on that, just to make sure that we have the opportunity there to see precipitation. I like that you see the heavier precipitation stay south. I like that it's actually lightning as it comes through. That's a good sign you're not going to have too much warm air advection. And then we had, Thursday? We were looking at that trailing edge of Arctic air. It's not really building a storm. There's an opportunity there. There's a weak low in the northern stream. Just grazes Kentucky and gets into eastern Kentucky. And you see there the 540 line cutting through here. That's probably going to be snow. Even if it may be a little warm at the surface. We'll have to be careful with that because now we're into Friday. But that 540 line there would indicate that set would be snow. Now going back to that Thursday system, I see the 540 on here now. This is a problem because the 540 line cuts across the north of this, and that's going to be something that we have to suss out later on and see where does that boundary set up, because these southern storms, you got to be careful with warm air, and particularly the higher heights, the higher geopotential heights, which indicate warmer air. All right, P-type. That's going to be the last one. Unfortunately, you can't view P-type continentally. We have to come in to a lower map to be able to see that. So we said Friday we're not really worried about. There's some signs there, and there it is, early Saturday morning, just running off the coast. Not much to see there. Sunday we were interested in. Okay, Sunday, firmly in place in Arctic air. In fact, the heights are fairly low there. So this might be worth going and seeing the Kuchera ratio, just because you could get ratioed on this. I think that's a little bit low based on what I'm seeing for the heights. It's 8 and 10 to 1. That situation may be something to watch out for Northern Kentucky. You could, based on the heights there, that this could be very high ratio snow as it falls, but it's really not that impressive to look at. So I'm not crazy set on it. I'm not gonna be model watching that, but it's something we'll keep an eye on. When we go out to Tuesday, I think that was probably the most interesting thing that we saw. And again, you see that 540 line. All right, where's it at? 540 line right here. You see the models putting the snow just to the north of it. That's exactly what we'd expect. Interestingly, we're seeing a little bit of snow in the mountains. This may be a bigger deal to watch out because there's plenty of mountains to be seen, right? If we get into a situation where this is a mountain snow, this is going to be the area where we're going to be concerned, and then north through Pennsylvania and New York. We'll step it forward one more. All right, now, so this is cool. This gives me a little bit of hope for this system because it sees cold air at the surface in the south, probably dynamics. That's probably an upper low that's causing that snow over Tennessee and southern Kentucky. But it also brings that 540 line pretty far south, right? So in my mind, when I see 540, everything north of that should be snow unless it's warm at the surface. So the question is, does this come through, say, at night? And we've already had our temperatures cool down significantly. Right now it's saying it's in the morning, and that's going to hurt this storm. But if this thing slows down a little bit and gets through here in the evening, you could be seeing more snow with this. We're going to move it forward one more. Okay, there we go. Cold air's caught up with the storm, or the model has realized, yeah, that 540 line's far enough south. I should probably be making snow here. And that is a solid looking snowstorm. Obviously, it's 5 days away. I'm not going to put totals on that. But that's a pretty strong signal 5 days out for snow. It's definitely something we'll go and look at some of the other models for confirmation on. And it lingers, right? So there's a chance here that there are parts of the state, 114, 117, 120. There are parts of the state here that are in pretty moderate snow for 6 hours or so. That could be interesting and worth watching for. And it's even picking up on the trailing snow. And that's something we've seen a lot of this year. You get these strong northwest winds coming in, and you end up with a little bit of trailing snow. So we're going out to Thursday. Not much there. Friday, this northern piece, it just doesn't, it looks like it's not making the connection. So there's a northern piece that's going to bring the cold, and there's a southern piece that's going to carry the moisture. And right now, the connection just isn't being made there. Anything beyond this point is model fantasy land. We can say all we want that this model is designed to run out to 380 hours or something. I really don't trust much beyond about 7 days with the GFS. Now, if we're really interested, we can go ahead and push this out and see what it sees. But the reason I'm not going to do all of that other analysis, the 500 millibar analysis, temperature analysis, is not worth it. At 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, you're getting really at the edge of what this model can do. From here on out, it's just fun, right? We're just seeing what might happen. It's also important to remember that everything beyond about 7 days is highly amplified. So you may see a blizzard at 10 days, but that storm ends up putting down an inch, right? So don't get hooked on anything we see out from here, but it's just for fun. Another clipper, maybe an upper low type snow. There's some more upsloping, and again, this is coming from an Arctic blast. You see these heights, 5280, and then we got one more isobar below that up there. It's just that time frame probably gonna be cold. So what you're seeing, the snow you're seeing here is just air mass. It's just wringing the moisture out of the air because it's so cold. And now you see again this pattern change. We're no longer seeing southwest to northeast. It's northwest to southeast. So we're losing a trough here. Yeah, and there's one of those west to east cutters that I was talking about. That could be interesting. Maybe a wave. So it starts out west to east, but then it evolves more into a system like last night. All right, now we're getting to the danger zone on the GFS. It really starts doing stupid stuff out past about 300 hours. Like, that's a massive storm. There's not going to be that much precipitation anywhere at any point. Shoot, there's a lakes cutter. I was worried about those starting to show up if we lose that ridge out in Alaska. That's going to be a heartbreaker if it ends up happening, because you're going to end up with a huge swath of snow right up the Mississippi River. So, do we have any other model support? Let's pop over to the NAM. It runs out 84 hours, so it should be able to see some of the earlier stuff next week. We'll run out late Friday. Again, there's your ocean storm. It sees a little bit of this lake effect snow actually hanging around. Sunday, there's our clipper-ish system. I'm not ready to call that a clipper yet. The morphology is wrong. That actually just looks like a northern stream storm of some sort. But you can see it's really just a northern Kentucky thing, and it's in eastern Kentucky, and it's not doing much. Again, it's something to watch. I'm not going to stay up for the midnight run of the Euro or anything stupid like that to catch that. Those are for those nights are reserved for when there's a real good chance. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Saturday night I'll stay up late and watch some basketball and see what happens there. But interesting to see it nonetheless. And we'll hop over to the Canadian. I hate it, guys, but the Canadian did really well with the storm last night. Didn't see it, had it weak. And then it kind of went crazy and picked it up day of. But a couple days out, it wasn't terrible. We'll go long range Canadian. See what the long range says. So again, Friday night, there's our storm running off the East Coast. Sunday, it's actually a little bit stronger, and the pressure looks a little bit more like a clipper in that case, the low pressure area here. So if this connects and spreads out, this will not look quite the same. It'll actually stretch out along the northern edge of this low pressure area. So, maybe it is a clipper. We'll see. Monday night, getting into Tuesday. Oh man, it just misses the connection there. Look, that's a heartbreaker. So you've got your northern energy, and you've got your southern energy, and the southern energy is just a hair behind. If you can get this southern energy out in front, again, you want them stacked right at the Mississippi. You want them to be at the same line of longitude. And that way the southern energy kind of rounds the front of that northern energy and comes up, contributes a little bit more. That'll be something to watch. Tuesday, I think we have a forecast at least for us weather nerds to keep an eye on. Let's put a pin on that one and see where it goes. I don't know if this will get to Thursday or not. Yeah, it gets to Thursday. And see, that's a completely different evolution. The Canadian does really good with Arctic air, mainly because it samples it, but like they live in the Arctic, right? Not all of them, but Canada cares about Arctic air more than the U.S. does on the whole. What it doesn't do very good is southern moisture, and a lot of what our models are tailored to pick up is severe weather. And of course, Norman, Oklahoma, the guys that design this stuff are going to be really interested in moisture coming out of the Gulf. So the Canadian tends to be a little bit dry. It tends to misplace the southern energy a little bit more, but at this point, it's all a week out. So one thing I'm going to leave you with is the SREFs. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding in how those work yesterday. The SREFs are not necessarily in and of themselves a model. They're a conglomeration of a lot of models. They actually do have some of their own members that are specifically SREF predictions, but they also factor in all of the other models into one statistical model. Just because it says 100% doesn't mean there's a 100% chance of snow. It means 100% of the models agree that there will be that much snow. So statistical models work a little bit differently. I think there's something to look forward to here. There's a lot of shots, especially at the upper levels coming, and it takes time for the models to work those out. You will see a lot of that evolve toward precipitation on the P-type maps, on the surface precipitation maps, as we get closer, as the models are able to differentiate these different pieces of energy better, distinguish them better, get better placement on them. As always, watch for that southwest trend or southeast trend and then the northwest shift closer in. But at least through the weekend, I'm looking for a light event, maybe Sunday. Not going to put a whole lot of worry into it, but we'll keep an eye out on it, especially if it starts to look more real tomorrow, Saturday around noon time frame. And then that Tuesday system could be interesting. That could be fun. So that's all I got. Anybody have any questions? I want to give you, it looks like the stream's lagging just a little bit. I'll give you a minute to start typing. If I don't see anything there, I'm going to cut the stream off and we're going to go to bed. Well, go watch some TV, maybe drink some bourbon. Oh, demonetized. And then go to bed.